I need to address this with a passion, and I'm sure as heck not apologizing for it. Because if this doesn't outrage you, why? You work, you pay taxes, you survive floods, inflation, traffic, and still show up for work the next day. And instead of avoiding this, our money is funding this. Hindi na nga ito sa pagmamayabang lang eh. That's systemic theft paraded in our faces. But here's the harder truth. This isn't just about a few spoiled kids. It's systemic. And we help build the system. And when I say we, I don't mean blame. I mean, for years, we were shaped by forces bigger than us. Think about it. Many Filipinos never had the luxury to vote based on long-term vision. When you're in survival mode, you can't afford to gamble on abstract promises of reform 5 years from now, which means a sack of rice, a few hundred pesos, or a charismatic leader who feels relatable is what feels safest. So what matters to them is who gives me food today, who pays for my medicine, who shakes my hand and remembers my name. And unfortunately, we're quick to right away judge it as stupidity. But sometimes, if not most of the time, it's reciprocity. That's how the brain works under threat. You reward whoever eases the pain in front of you right away. Education wasn't accessible to all. Opportunities to plan for a future were scarce. And when education and opportunity are out of reach, survival itself becomes the only rational vote. So can we blame solely the people for that? Of course not. When you've been told for generations that corruption is normal, that all leaders are the same, the rational brain shuts off and the survival brain takes over. And the way I see it, that is conditioning, not ignorance. So what mental model did people fall back on? Who helps me now? Who makes me feel seen? That is the mental model that kept families alive. So in my view, the problem isn't that Filipinos are lazy voters or blind voters. It's that the system trained us to prioritize short-term relief over long-term reform. The tragedy is that our politics exploited this. Utang na loob, which is once about community, was weaponized into patronage. Pakikisama, once about harmony, was used to silence dissent, and media disinformation and dynasties kept reinforcing that pattern until it became a vicious cycle. So the reset doesn't start with blaming voters who put power in the wrong hands. It starts with accountability from the top and from us. And something I learned in behavioral science is this: survival mode brains need visible, immediate rewards to trust again. That means leaders must stop hiding behind vague promises and show concrete accountability now. Quick audits, real penalties, transparency that people can actually see. But behavior change isn't just about leaders. It's also about us, because corruption, by definition, is using public resources for private gain. And sometimes we normalize it in everyday ways. When we disobey traffic rules, when we cut in line, when we use the padrino connections to get ahead, when we excuse small thefts because lahat naman gumagawa niyan, we reinforce the same mental model. We teach ourselves that bending rules is normal. Now, social proof works both ways. When we tolerate small corruptions, we make it easier to tolerate big corruption. And when we start saying, hindi pwede kahit maliit, we then create an environment where it becomes almost unforgivable at larger scales. And the reset isn't just about elections. It's about retraining our collective psychology so that fairness feels safe and corruption feels disgusting at every level. And additionally, maybe the reset doesn't just start with blaming those who are just trying to survive. Maybe it starts with us, those who have access to education, information, platforms, even the privilege of thinking long term, which I think begs the real question: when will the rest of us, those with these access to education, platforms, and privilege, finally live, speak, and vote with accountability in mind? It starts with demanding a culture where corruption has consequences, where accountability is visible, and where survival isn't for sale every election. And maybe this outrage, this disgust that we feel right now, maybe it's the reset button that we've been waiting for.